Boom, 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 boom. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing, man?
Doing good, doing good.
Yo, doing good.
What is going on here with our layout? What's happening? All right. Anyway, we'll figure that out in real time. What's happening here? Anyway, what's going on, fellas, man? How's the week and stuff going? Adrian, man, let's start with you. First of all, man, Adrian, welcome back.
Thank you. I had to look into my cousin down in Nashville during the last episode. He is wading through the devastation right now. Thank goodness he's safe, and his family is.
Yeah, man, definitely. I know it's been a lot, and everything for Florida, for Tennessee, and for North Carolina and the surrounding states and everything without this weather, and now we're pretty much in the eye of another one. It's currently kind of going across South Mid Florida, as well, and so definitely, man, definitely hoping everybody is safe and sound was able to evacuate, and if you're not able to evacuate, definitely hope you stuff like that remain safe and stuff there. But yeah, Sekou, what's going on, man?
Hey.
How are you doing?
Doing good. Taking a little bit of time off of work to kind of recharge and recalibrate. But otherwise doing all right. Yeah.
Any doing any adventurous things? You gonna go north and do some snowboarding?
Yeah, well, this time I'm actually taking off more for just more mental health, just to get myself more centered and things like that, which means working on my house.
That's exactly what that means.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been good. So I've had a chance to keep up with some of the things that happen in tech. And looking forward to chatting with you guys about some of that today.
Yeah, man. I think also too. I think it's important to kind of reiterate, how and why we got here. Over the last year plus, we've been doing these conversations just weekly by ourselves, and we just been engaging and having conversations of just like things and sharing resources and information of just some of the things that we're seeing, around the field of artificial intelligence. And it was 12 months in essentially until we all kind of put our heads up and was like, you know what, this may be valuable for some other people, and stuff here, because we've all definitely predicted things, we've definitely built things, all of us and everything, or software engineers stuff at heart, and so yeah, man, I think it's important to kind of remind folks and stuff, how and why we got here.
Yeah, I think a lot of our original conversations, we actually came together during almost like a renaissance phase for tech, right? So everything we're saying is brand new to everyone, and we have so much industry experience here that we can share to be able to not just help each other navigate this future, but now I guess we can help some other folks too.
Adrian, do you remember our first conversation we had around artificial intelligence and the thing we're building?
Oh my God. Oh, I remember you telling me about this grant writer that you were building, and I was blown away. I was really blown away. I hadn't gotten into AI yet. So yeah, you were the first friend of mine that was actually, not only knew about it, but was making inroads into utilizing AI. So yeah, I remember that.
and then Sekou, I remember a time period where we were on Slack sending prompts back and forth. We were sending prompts and this is before you could share, your prompts. And we were sending the screenshots and everything. Talk about that. You remember that?
Yeah. I definitely remember that. I remember putting those together. I remember there's this amazing prompt that you like put together. It was like it had like JSON structure around it, behaviors. Oh man,
Yeah,
this is great.
yeah.
I still kind of build off of that today. I feel like it's still very relevant, especially with O1 preview, where it likes to be for you to give it clear section off goals and stuff like that. But yeah, I remember that before the share button existed.
Yeah, it was at the time I had a friend that was working at OpenAI, and he kind of every now and then he would slide me some information, things that typically wasn't been talked about publicly and stuff yet. And so he slid me the information of, like it can accept prompts via JSON, and I was like, explain. and stuff. And he sent me an example, and I was like, I'll take it from here. Yes, okay, I got it. Everything.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And stuff. And so yeah, it was definitely one of those moments and everything. And so yeah, man, this has been a journey. This has been a journey. I think this journey is just going to increase, and it's definitely, man. We start to start to continue not only building but predicting and stuff, some of the things that we've been seeing, across the landscape in here. So, guys, I'm excited.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
So,
Same.
well, here we go. Let's dive into it. Sekou kind of brought up a topic a couple weeks ago about this subject, and we're going to do a little deeper dive and stuff here. So here we go. Microsoft, a bold move into nuclear energy. It says Microsoft did a groundbreaking partnership with Constellation Energy to revive a 3-mile nuclear plant. It says the tech giant was going to look to power on this plant to help innovation and growth and everything for these things like data centers driven by AI and cloud computing demands. Sekou, my friend, let's start with you. What are your thoughts and stuff here with Microsoft deciding they are going to use nuclear plants to help, kind of help some, also carbon-free power, so help some of the data centers move forward.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. So being a Pennsylvania resident, we are very familiar with 3 Mile Island and the history behind 3 Mile Island. That was like the site of the largest nuclear disaster that has ever happened on U.S. soil. I think that's actually where we started. There was like a movement to move away from nuclear. We were thought of like, nuclear as dirty energy. But, a lot of techniques have improved over the years on how to like handle uranium, how to safely, make it so you're not cross-contaminating like water and things like that with it. Centrifuge processes are different. But the major thing is, it's actually not just what Microsoft's trying to do. It's kind of like what China is doing right now. China is building nuclear plants like crazy because that is the fastest way to provide a large amount of power at the cheapest rate, right? But ever since 3 Mile Island happened, we've had like the steady move away from nuclear energy. I think the goal is for in the AI world now is to make it so that it just costs less to do, and power consumption is a huge part of that story. So,
for sure. I know that 3 Mile Island is on the the Susquehanna River, and that that feeds into the Chesapeake Bay, I believe. So that's my hood. So I hope I hope for the best. And I've been looking up, trying to look for articles from the local news there, just to kind of get a beat on what the population feels about that.
Yeah.
Because as Sekou just said, 3 Mile, it's fresh on it. Everyone around that area is very familiar with the 3 Mile Island there, and the last thing they want is for something, a disaster, of course. I'm not even going to speak that into existence, of course, but it's interesting that the plant will be powering, just Microsoft's initiative there.
Yeah.
So it makes me curious, just around that area, like if this large initiative is happening, and I mean, could you provide enough power to the town, enough to supply the town as well, to maybe offset some of those energy costs too? That would be great for that to be on the roadmap. I haven't seen any details surrounding that yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes, you know, more of an incentive to, you know, get people to adopt to, or, you know, really accept that, because I'm sure people are still alive that experience, you know, the 3 Mile Island incident, you know, and then they saw the Chernobyl documentary, or the biopic, or the movie on HBO. I don't know if you guys saw that miniseries. I think it was a miniseries, actually, not a movie. It was pretty intense. But I'm all for, you know, alternative energy to really get us away from the carbon emissions, all of it. I really think that, like, a lot of the new tech that's come out, I mean, NFTs, I'm sorry, not just NFTs, but sorry, Bitcoin mining and AI always has this kind of, you know, clause at the end of, you know, at the end of it saying, oh yeah, by the way, this is an energy hog, what we're doing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they mentioned that it's going to be carbon free for its data centers. They said they expect to go operational by 2028, but they also still have some, you know, some hurdles on the regulatory style, everything to overcome. I mean, I think all this speaks towards, and what we've been talking about now, man, for just months and stuff here, is, you know, if you're still on the fence of, like, is AI going to be a thing? Is it a fad? If this is a moment in time, I would argue that yes, it is a moment in time, but it is a pivotal moment in time, because, you know, you have institutions, organizations who are putting billions, you know, down, you know, this 2-letter word and stuff here, you know, and stuff like that. You can, like, go full throttle, and so. You know, the more we start to, like, see, you know, different aspects of stuff coming on, we're about to see, and we're about to see a surge of startups that are ready to get funded. We're about to see a surge of robotics and stuff that's coming into play. We're about to see a surge of IoT devices that's going to have an integration, you know, and stuff with, you know, artificial intelligence, and then you're going to need inference. You know, you're going to get computing and stuff, like, in between that, and you're going to continue to needing all those, I would imagine, at least for, like, the next 5 to 10 years. And so Microsoft is saying, like, hey, they're trying to figure out ways how to, you know, get ahead of this. Like, I think you mentioned too as well, you know, not only get ahead of this, but also kind of, like, cut costs, you know, on this side of things as well. So
yeah, there's like, there's two fronts that are happening, right? There's a front of, hey, we need to get lots of power, but there's another component of the efficiency, where you have a single GPU, and, you know, we've gotten pretty good with utilization in a data center around memory and CPU, but tools are just coming online for us to be able to efficiently, like, do sharing of actual GPUs, and then on top of that, doing it at the most efficient level, because GPUs, because of their parallelization, works so much different than CPUs, which are, you know, or they're based off of how much an individual core could actually produce, or a thread could produce itself.
Yeah.
GPUs are doing them all at the same exact time in their world. So there's a lot. There's a lot with that.
We were talking kind of like backstage, behind scenes and stuff here of I think Adrian brought up the conversation of, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later too as well, of, like, we're getting to this place where we're starting to plateau, and sort of plateau around, like, you know, models, and so the advancement of models, and so, you know, when that happens, and it's happened with every big industry and everything. It happened with internet, it happened with mobile, it happened with cloud, and then kind of once you kind of go past this illusion standpoint and you kind of go downturn, you know, on the curve of adoption, you know, the building happens. And so, like, right now, this is kind of where we're at, where the building is about to start happening, and it's about to be, I think it's about to be a gold rush. I mean, what's above gold? platinum rush. You know, like, you know, it's about to be, you know, a significant amount of money and stuff that's going to come into play and stuff here.
for sure. And you mentioned too, Internet of Things. In your, I think you just mentioned that, as you know, us seeing just as historical plateaus. I think that I hadn't really thought of it before, but now that I do recollect us talking about this maybe previously in a conversation, Marlon, where we said that, you know, AI could really help restart the Internet of Things conversation, which you don't really hear about it that much anymore. But as these models get smaller and smaller and able to run on, you know, potentially, you know, your phone, and they could run on the Raspberry Pi. They can run on a Raspberry Pi Mini, Pico, whatever they're called now. So
yeah, I mean, we were having a discussion when dang, what's the internet speed called?
DSL.
No, like your phone internet. You got LTE.
Oh, LTE. Yeah.
What's the native? Why am I going blank with this? What's the latest one called?
LTE.
LTE is the oldest one.
5G.
Yeah, 5G. Jeez.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. So I mean, we was having a discussion on the you know, the battle for in between, you know, to go to 4G to 5G and everything, and we lost that battle, you know, from a country standpoint. China won that battle on the 5G standpoint, but we was having a conversation basically what 5G was going to do for us. And so, you know, simply it was like, you know, 4G was simply like, you know, if you think about like freeway, it's like a three-lane highway, and it allows, you know, indications to move faster and everything through this three-lane highway and everything. So, you know, you got your cell phone service, you got your internet, you got your, you know, devices at home, you know, you got your, you got your smart home. So whatever I mean, 5G becomes a 6-lane highway, everything, and so it allows things to go faster and also more things. And so we saw this, it started to happen. We saw the kind of like the rise of drones, you know, start coming to play. You know, drones became a little bit more commercial, you know, because you can kind of share, you know, that landscape, you know, and stuff as well. And then we also saw like the rise of, you know, things like, you know, wearables, you know, and now we're starting to see smart glasses and things like that. And so like that process repeats. It repeats hardware now with integration of a bloodline of artificial intelligence. And so when you can solve the compute problem and you can solve the inference problem and everything, now solutions, then you'll start to have at-home in-house robotics where it can do, you know, chores, you know, you do your dishes and do your laundry. It's like, you know, things like this. I mean, you know, I know a lot of people are kind of concerned and scared of like things like the iRobot, you know, standpoint. I mean, we still can't even get prompting together, so I don't see iRobot becoming a problem in this stuff. And so, you know, time soon. But you know, once we solve that computing problem, and I think this is what Microsoft is trying to do, trying to like leap towards it, is like then you allow so much surge of opportunity and solutions to come behind that, because now you're not in this traffic zone of compute and waiting and everything as you're trying to, you know, output solutions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. There was, I think for years, I think we've been in a space where, you know, hey, you have more compute you need to do. Hey, just build a bigger data center, right? That's how you solve like compute issues, or spread yourself out at different data centers, you know, in different places around the world. That's been the way that we've done things. But the problem we have with AI is like, it's not the data centers that are the problem. It's electricity, right? You only can draw up so much electricity before you start affecting the actual grid. And they're nowhere near the potential. We have not hit the level of efficiency within AI where it's actually possible to like use the data centers that are built, how they're built today. So actually, I think it was on CNBC. Jensen, the CEO of NVIDIA, was talking with I think it was the CEO of Accenture. Accenture is essentially like retooling how they interact with their customers to work on the efficiency story, building the tools that are required in order to get them and stretch what they can do on those CPUs. But that's going to take some time. Like it's going to take time for like the big companies, the FANG companies to do this, right? But remember, the FANG companies, these Netflix, the Googles, the Amazon, they're huge, giant billion-dollar machines. But there's a lot of other companies that they're more like normal size companies than there are Amazon, right? So for them to get access to these technologies, like it's going to take a long time for them to ingest all these new things and how to like build infrastructure to actually use some of this stuff. I know because we interact with some of the like these larger organizations, like we definitely are looking at it from the what they call it it's called the what is it, the iceberg effect or something like that. You know, like the Titanic when it was, you know, going through the ocean, it saw an iceberg and only saw the top part of the iceberg, but not the bottom part, which was huge, and ended up running into it because it was much larger than they thought. Well, the industries that are part of the like the top part of the iceberg is the Amazons, the FANG companies that we interact with, right? But what's underneath that iceberg is all the regular companies that are in there. Small businesses, the doctor's offices, all these folks. When they need to get access to these things, because they're not really touching it just right now. They haven't figured out how to like integrate that to their world. They like we would need to solve the efficiency and the power consumption portion of it. They need to meet. So hopefully what's happening with Microsoft and this nuclear power plant is something that we are at least trying to figure out as from the government standpoint, not just from a private side. It's strange that Microsoft's the folks who are pushing this and not the federal government to like be able to find a good solution for this, while China is like, you know, running circles around us because they can just press a button and create things when they want.
So that makes me very interested in this point. The need of power, the understanding of the grid, and with number one, China grid system is structurally a lot better than ours and stuff currently. And then also two, here's a question. We talk a lot about AI ethics and how to build properly inducing. Is there ever or need of a conversation around the electricity side of this, or does GPUs handle that, you know, once they're onboarded?
You mean how does like our need for electricity and ethics connect to that?
Yeah, because we mentioned, like you said, they said that you can only do so much stuff here with the power side of things, and right now it seems like we're just like, I don't think I've ever heard a conversation about, you know, proper structuring and, you know, alignment around the grid system. It's all simply really around like, we just need more compute, we need more power, we need more GPUs and everything. But is there indication of overload to our grid system? Or is that something that the GPUs can, you know, kind of like filter out within their internal algorithms?
I think it's today how the LLMs are built around transformers is really like where the optimization, if there's another paradigm that comes to be able to get similar result that doesn't require GPUs or something that's a little bit low powered. Like think of the new, like the M5 processors and these new types of CPUs that are coming out that don't have the 600 watt power. I was looking at the new the 50 series specs that are coming out, the GPUs. They're like, it was like 900 watts. Like 900 watts for a GPU. This is one GPU, right? Like it's not even one of the super high-end Blackwell GPUs that they're selling as a giant rack. Like that's insane. And the amount of users that go to that one GPU it's crazy. We already can't handle, like, if everyone in California decided to get an electric car we would not have enough electricity for that and to also power homes.
I mean, there's a 40% of all EVs in the U.S. are in California.
Yes.
Like they're already having this issue.
Yeah, we're sorry. And it's expensive. They just went up, was it 8% on PG&E over here? Like they just put in, like they just keep increasing the prices. So
which is supposed to be the opposite. It's supposed to be the resounding decrease over time.
Yeah, well, I think they're trying to, increase prices results in the behavioral change of I try to use less electricity because my bill's so high, right? But the reality is we need more ways of getting electricity that are, one, we want it to be clean, right? We don't just want to, hurt our environment and make the Atlantic warmer than it is now. But yeah, these are all challenges that need to get solved, and this is really what government really is supposed to shine at, like large scale infrastructure projects that have to cut across the entire United States. I feel like that's what we need some support in. So
does this not sound like the Industrial Revolution all over again to some sense?
It sure does. Sure does, right?
Yeah. I think it's like an American story. You build and you build things that may be destructive or really consume a lot, and then just hope that it gets corrected by future humans or
my analogy
intelligence goes up.
My analogy is that we always build the seatbelt after the car.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we never build them together, and stuff. And so, yeah, that's typically stuff. How we move and stuff. With things definitely.
Yeah, we may be touching on the FTC in this conversation, so that's a seatbelt there. That's forcing its way across the AI industry for sure.
I'll tell you who doesn't have a seatbelt. Some OpenAI leaders who are leaving the company. So OpenAI is reportedly considering restructuring into a for-profit model while maintaining its nonprofit wings. And this comes as top leaderships, including the CTO Mir Maruti, announced their departures. The restructuring could pave the way for more investors, friendly operation, but it also reflects ongoing internal shifts as OpenAI continues to balance rapid AI advancements with organization challenges. There is a word for this. It's called flattening. First of all, Sekou, man, can you tell the audience what flattening is, what it means? Then definitely get some of your thoughts and stuff here.
Yeah. So in this case for OpenAI, what they're trying to do is essentially make it so that they can get themselves to a point where they can eventually become profitable. I was to say eventually. And I guess one of the things that they've actually pointed out recently, whether this is true or not, this to be determined, is that they want to move into this restructured model in order to make it so that they can't be have a hostile takeover, which I don't think that's true. I feel like they're opening themselves up for that. But I think what's happening as far as flattening, what ends up happening with industries over time is that once you get to the economy of scale, the innovation itself starts to it doesn't actually go up. It like kind of stays at this one point here. And what you end up seeing is this point where you're building products and services, expanding your lead, right? And then what ends up happening in the case of OpenAI, there's a lot of like what they've done with O1 preview is pretty remarkable, but it is still kind of based off of very similar LLM technology behind the scenes. There are better techniques which are getting more efficiency out of it and able to do more things. It's the technology that's happening around it, but the actual like breakthrough that they had originally that they're kind of propelling themselves off of that formula hasn't truly changed just yet. And what we're seeing is folks like Anthropic. You're seeing folks like even Perplexity going the route of building in reasoning and things like that, which essentially asking the LLM questions back to itself, or setting up different LLMs to answer portions of a question or a tune for those types of components. But the actual underlying technology is the same. So OpenAI still has a lead, I think, when it comes to some of the actual tooling around that. But the actual breakthrough is the same that we're saying.
Yeah,
Yep.
I 100% agree. And Adrian, I want you to go. Like, this is also too for me personally why I can't stand the X, Y, and Z is so much better than OpenAI and everything. It's like a lot of these tools are so much similar and they're so the same. Everything, I believe that we're still basically in a prompt based universe. And so right now, where the better the prompt, the better response, and stuff like that. And then the conversion of response that you get on the like the GPT side, ChatGPT side versus the API side. I mean, those are two different worlds, so by itself. And so it's always kind of baffling to me when you hear somebody, say like, oh, this is so much better than this, or oh, OpenAI, they just got killed because some company released a new feature and everything. This falls underneath the umbrella of learn coding in 90 minutes on YouTube. it's all clickbaity, and stuff. And so Adrian.
Yeah. I think that, on the topic of, build the tooling, totally agree that OpenAI has, they have the lead right now when it comes to their tooling. As the flattening, continues, or we're in that flattening stage where they're not necessarily doing anything technically different. The models are getting better just from using them more efficiently, but that's the way that they're getting better, not like at its core. I think that it's intimidating because as a developer you find yourself with ideas and ways that you would come up with to use OpenAI's backend even more efficiently than what you can get through the regular chat interface. So as the flattening is happening, I can't help but think that okay, they're also keeping an eye out for the products that are being launched, and it would be so much easier to launch a product within given the resources that they have, launch a product within the open AI ecosystem than it would be to stand up on your own a lot faster. So it really is a race. It really is like this period really is. You got to really get some of that Gary Vee in you, some of that hustle to really get your product out there and launched, because that idea is going to be, could be, under threat if you wait for too long, for sure.
Yeah. So as of right now, all of the co-founders of OpenAI has left. So they've either, would go start another institution, they start their own thing, they work consulting, like whatever it may be. So as of right now, the only founding remaining member, is Sam Altman. And I think for me, the annoying part of signaling that OpenAI is done for now is far from the truth. I definitely think they're going to have challenges, when you have individuals like, Andrej Karpathy, and so, who is just one of the great minds of our days and stuff around artificial intelligence. But, with that too as well, this is normal when it comes to gold rushes and big businesses and things like that that's being started out. So, for example, has anybody ever heard? Does anybody know who Ronald Wayne is? Most people don't. Everything. Ronald Wayne was the co-founder of Apple. along with Steve Jobs and Wozniak, everything. And he sold his shares. He sold his shares and everything back to Steve and Woz for like $400, or something like that. It was like right before the launch and everything of of the first product and stuff. And so I mean, this happens. He went to go join like another institution. He thought somebody else was going to be larger, and then we just don't know. Like OpenAI could be the leader, could be the winner, stuff in this. Microsoft, Anthropic, but that separation and leaving, trying to go find a better opportunity or something that's more in line with what you want to do and stuff. Not like this is normal. I think all these aspects of stuff is normal. What's not normal is them potentially shifting into a for-profit model stuff, and getting fully away from the nonprofit model. But I think somebody on Twitter put up like a graph about like how OpenAI is structured. With all it's confusing, but so I think that process is normal. No matter what, we live in a capitalistic society. It was only a matter of time. I don't believe this notion that OpenAI was going to forever be this gift to humanity for free. It's we just haven't had that, and so this is the process and everything. I don't understand why people are so surprised when this happens. When companies who live in a capitalist society shift back into capitalism. Like it's just like where we are, and kind of what we do. And so not saying it's right and not saying with it or against it, but this is who we are as Americans.
It just occurred to me. Just reminds me of what's it? Oracle, actually. This is actually a very similar story to Oracle. Not that Oracle's founders like left and to go make different companies, but what ended up happening, a lot of folks that were crucial to the beginnings of Oracle's dominance left and became CEOs of other organizations that built very similar products. And that's, I feel like that's part of this. So like, the CTO of OpenAI leaving, in some ways you think, oh, well, man, how is OpenAI gonna, get to his next level of innovation if their CTO just left? It's more like I expect for that CTO to leave OpenAI, start another AI company that will end up being the competition that's required in order for OpenAI to get its the size it needs to be. Because it's always competition also drives innovation.
Yep.
Right.
Oh.
Yep. What's the old saying? What's the old saying? There's always Steve Jobs said there's always gonna be a PC guy, there's always gonna be Apple guy.
You got it. They have to be. They actually depend on each other. Right. Right now, there's only one OpenAI. And there are somewhat of competitors and things like that. But I would look to see what these other folks are going to be doing as they have left OpenAI with all this depth and knowledge on how to build the next set of products that are required for us to get to where we need to be.
Yeah. Did and with Andre Carpathy, did he open source a portion of OpenAI's model? Did he just post that on GitHub? I thought.
Yeah, I think it was like GPT-3 or something like that. I think he posted on GitHub like some of the code and everything for GPT-3 and basically how to like build your own model, stuff that can be similar. And so he's been doing a lot of stuff. He's been doing a lot of stuff on Twitter and GitHub and such as well. I've definitely been following closely. Stuff. He said he also two of my favorite tweets. One I love, one really bothered me. One I love, he said that English is the new coding language. And so basically the need for just to know and write out English will be basically the understanding of the computer. And so it'll be the new syntax of the computer. And then he also said, if you're not studying 4 hours a day, you're gonna fall behind. And I said, oh wow. So I need to I build. I guess I'm not sure if I'm not sure you consider like building, everything a part of studying. And to me, it is. And so yeah, he said, yeah, if you're not doing 4 hours a day of studying, you're gonna fall behind. And so that was a challenge that I took seriously.
Mm.
Yeah.
I too, I consider building studying too. And that's really, I think, like the closed loop. That's what really keeps me motivated. Is that like as I'm building, I'm learning more. As I'm learning more, I'm becoming more effective. So it's just a shorter path from really idea to product.
How do you? This is a question for Adrian. I guess how do you pick your projects for what you think you want to build? Like,
really, we just like assess need. It's a small company. It's been a
wait,
small
wait,
company.
wait. Sekou, are you talking work projects or personal projects?
Oh, your personal projects. Like, how do you like? It's like, all right, I want to build this today. Like, what is like? How do you get there?
It starts with just this need. So what is it that I need? What is it that I want to automate? And then it's really breaking down the key pieces of that, the key features, and then testing each one. And once everyone is tested to some, reliability, then you can put it together. Really, the longest part of anything that I develop is the front end. It takes forever compared to it takes forever, compared to the back end, but that's typically how I start personal projects. At work, it's just really customer or really partner feedback, assessing their needs, looking at what other competitors are doing in the marketplace, and developing, similar or adjacent solutions to that, to really serve that need. You don't want to go off on a whole bunch of tangent. Like, I just slept through the whole NFT era because I just really didn't think that was going to be this, to work as effective as it was touted to be. And really the runway was far too long to really dive into without, devoting my time elsewhere where it's needed.
Yeah, I think the challenge is also like almost like the feedback loop there, right? You do something, you put it together, you wait for your customer to give you like some feedback on whether it's right. Okay, I tweak, you go back through the loop again, things like that. I think this is one of the places I'm seeing AI start to really shine, right? It is shortening this feedback loop where you can actually like hit a button and you just go through a full continuous integration or continuous delivery loop, just going through it, getting the feedback and whether it was the right thing or not the right thing super quickly. So
that with everything going on with AI, what was that? What did you have me sign up for, Sekou? Replit? The Replit agents?
Oh, Replit. Yeah, Replit.
That's Replit. So I'm like, I have an A in JavaScript and probably a B to B- in Python. And Replit is making me really want to invest so much more time into Python because, really, if you're working in Python, it can do so much more than it can if you're working in a JavaScript Node.js background.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. I think what I'm actually learning with some of these tools, automation and things like that, being able to like seeing how far I can get without actually jumping in and tweaking the code myself to make something is a really fun challenge to go through. And Replit is a really good example of doing some of that. It's such a little bit expensive once you really start getting into it. You start seeing your OpenAI charges go up, but it's really cool. And just to kind of connect to the point that you made earlier about English being almost a new coding language as itself, like the default language for interacting with LLMs. like Replit, when you're using Replit, that's all you're doing is just typing to it and instructing it to create what you want. It's creating databases and doing all type of things. It's and that's what I said, that
It's amazing.
connecting to that feedback loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking here, like like we did backstage. I had like a graph that showed exactly what you're talking about, of the why and how. It's showing basically the adoption of the tools and stuff that we have today, and the reason the graph is exploding so much because like I said, the everyday user, kind of gets to experience the stuff and deal with it. And so at first I was thinking like, man, can I show this graph? And I kind of forgot, man, this is our podcast. We can do what we want to do here and stuff here. And so if you listen to the podcast, it's a great reason also too to hop on live and stuff with us and everything, because sometimes we might kind of like dive into these things, too as well. So here we go. The adoption cycle, too as well, like we just kind of mentioned, the internet and smartphone, things like cloud, were extremely different because your everyday person didn't have the ability to build with it. During the internet, you have to be a heavy IT engineer. So to build application stuff when it started. Same thing with the smartphone, had to be a software engineer, and then cloud was ridiculously difficult and expensive. But with these tools like we experience now right now, from your Geminis to OpenAI to Perplexities, your everyday consumer has the ability to build, learn, and grow with it. And I think it's just a technology that we've never experienced before.
Wow, certainly not a like a real hockey stick like that looks. I mean, that's just through the roof. I mean, there's so many more barriers to entry of those other two verticals there. That we all live through, really.
Yeah.
Just
wait for those interest rates to go down. Now look what they do.
Yeah, and typically it takes years, for it to kind of get back to that point of, allowing like the everyday consumer to build, or integrate and stuff with it. And so, on the side of Gen AI, it's like it took a few months.
Yeah, I really think that like OpenAI, a lot of that hockey stick has to, and this is just an estimation, do with the completions side of OpenAI. Assisted coding assistant, right, integrated with your editor, your IDE. That's been a complete game changer. That was a game changer before Replit. Just build, Replit can just fly, take, I got it and just go with it. The completions are really, really powerful.
Yeah. There's a word for it. I think Andrew, you said this a long time ago. I can't think of the word, but there's a word for it. It's one of the beautiful things of the tools is understanding the gaps of what you may mean or what you're trying to get to, and filling those gaps and everything, through completions. And so, I think that, giving it like a basic prompt, and then you just you keep building stuff on top of it, and you keep writing stuff there, is also one of those things what makes it extremely, user friendly.
For sure. And I think that's the side that really Microsoft, when it comes to their integration with AI across their software suite, it seems like I haven't really used it in a Word document yet, but it seems to be more on that side of the completion side of AI.
Yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of the combination of AI completion and documents, Google NotebookLM is transforming content organization with this new AI-powered audio overviews. So this feature turns uploaded content into conversations and podcast-style summaries like with human interaction. It says the innovation is gaining attention for its natural back-and-forth style of dialogue that mimics real conversation, making it more engaging than traditional text-to-speech technologies and everything. So here, Adrian, man, start us off. What's your thoughts? It's over here with this Google Notebook LM.
I think it's amazing, that approach of, we talked a lot about agents before. My first foray into that was a chatbot that I made while at Live Nation. What was I using? LangChain on the back end to really coordinate with different agents to accomplish different tasks. And, you know, in building that project, that really blew my mind, because, you know, it was like, I had never thought of, you know, an agent that was specifically, you know, its expertise was this specific thing, and then communicating with another piece of your, you know, program, which is also an agent. It was amazing. However, they really knocked the ball out of the park, or they are, with the approach of the agents actually auditing and communicating with one another. That's pretty mind-blowing. And then for the end result to be an even better result than you would normally, with just, you know, dealing with one agent or one GPT. I think it's great. So I haven't played around with NotebookLM yet, but I'm excited to, for that reason.
Yeah, I messed around with it a little bit. I mean, essentially, what they've done is advance what we thought could happen with RAG. And so, you know, the nuance started off with, they was handing it over to PhDs and researchers for them to upload, you know, research, and basically it was summarized via audio form about, you know, what was like in the discussion, and then they kept building on top of that, and so now it's at a place where it can output a podcast debating style conversation around your content, around your research, around, you know, the information stuff that you give it. And not only that, I mean, we've seen a long time ago that, you know, LLMs understand, you know, human behavior. It understands emotions. You know, it now understands dialect and all these other things. And so being able to have a debating like style, but even human interaction when somebody's cutting you off or everything, like, no, you know, I didn't say that and everything, and it's kind of like having this back and forth, you know, emotional response, you know, which is just interesting because I think no matter what, it's like when you start to cover those type of those layering human aspects of interactions, there's nothing you can do but to tune in. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's I can see a world where, I mean, I thought it's funny. I was on I spoke at Tulsa at a conference like a couple weeks ago, Venture Sports Summit, Tech Summit, Venture Sports Tech Summit, and I was basically talking about what I'm seeing with the combination of AI and what's going to happen with sports. And one of the examples that I gave, that we're going to live in a world where you're going to have a podcast that is fully generated, that has an AI agent talking about your favorite, you know, player sports team, you know, or you know, your player sports team, and it's just running, you know, weekly. And I get it too, because there was somebody in the room, you know, who was a publicist, and it triggered that individual, and it was like, well, this is not okay. Okay, is it going to take our information? Is it going to read my blogs? And I'm like, respectfully, it already did. Stuff it already did, you know, and everything. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong, but this is like the need. This is the now aspect of like, while we have to like learn, grow, and build with it, versus, you know, being on defense, to this whole industry.
Absolutely. And like, to your point too, you know, a podcast where two agents are debating one another, you know, it's election season. So it really,
I did not think of that one. That's a great one. That's a great one.
Because you know where I'm going with it. You know exactly where I'm going with it. It would be very interesting to see, which I'm sure, I wonder if they're already doing. They're already doing, but if there is, you know, you feed them the transcripts of your whatever opponent's speeches, policy, everything, and then also upload yours, and then demo a debate before you go into it, of possible responses, possible, you know, pitfalls, things like that, just by reading, you know, going over this mock debate transcript. That could change preparation for something like that. Like
bro, you're
dramatically.
spot on. You're spot on. You're spot on, because what was also already happening, there are companies that are using voice LLMs to take over the first phone call of the interview. And so, so basically doing that first phone call, you're just like in the feel for that person. Why'd you leave your last company? Why are you looking to transition? Tell me a little bit more about yourself, like that. And like, these are just very, very basic, everything, and also kind of like scripted questions. And so now there are companies that are using voice LLMs to handle that first phone call. And so that's exactly, what you're alluding to as well, just on the, political side of things, which pros and cons there too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I remember, I don't know if you guys have seen this documentary on Gore Vidal and William F. Buckley, but they used to hold, it's called Best of Enemies, and it was on Netflix for a long time, but it was a great documentary, and it really it showed how there would be these debates, not with political people necessarily, but just with the intelligentsia, I guess, of the time, that would be televised, and they would be going through social issues and everything for like an hour, and it was awesome. It was really, really good. I don't know if actually, I do know that it will probably get to that point where you could tune in and then have a, at the end of the debates, I wasn't even, what was this, like 1960 or something? Like, I wasn't around then, but I was informed just by watching the documentary of really what was going on at the time. So,
I mean, Ultron ran through the internet and decided the world needs to go. So who knows? Yeah. Anyway, Sekou.
So did Skynet. Oh, not sure if you folks have seen the is it Terminator Rising or something like that on Netflix? Oh, it's great. It's a great show. It's one of the best Terminator movies that is like an anime ever.
Oh, I've seen that, man.
Yeah, it was so good, but the same thing. Like
Terminator Zero.
They went back in time. I think Terminator Zero, that's the one.
Yeah.
They went back in time, try to create another AI, which, of course, if you don't succeed the first time, try it again. Went back in time to create another AI to rival Skynet and feed it the same information, but do a little bit of coaching beforehand, some better prompts, essentially. And guess what? We still decided to kill everyone. So,
yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, crazy. But yeah, I think the NotebookLM thing is pretty interesting. I realized we were talking about this before we jumped on here about NotebookLM. I hadn't realized I did use it last year or earlier this year. I actually had a session in there where I was like working on like my professional development in there, which is very strange. And I don't think I actually hit the generate button. So I might not sure if we do it this one, but we should see what that looks like, what that conversation about my professional development looks like on NotebookLM.
You have a whole new future awaiting you. Just hit the generate button.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to think. I don't want it to think that I need to go though. I don't want the AI coming for me.
The AI is gonna make you invest in a pyramid scheme. You don't want that.
Yeah, I saw one of the examples I saw with NotebookLM is that somebody uploaded their resume and created a podcast format of how great that person was off the things they built and worked on.
Oh,
and it brought in like additional sources and things like that, to as well. And so that'd be interesting for sure.
I'm gonna follow up with that. That's very interesting.
I mean, that could be your new website. Just like point somebody towards that, and they just hit play, and it just goes. Just goes. Just talks about how awesome this candidate is.
Let me tell you about this guy. You know.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Okay, cool. So here we go. So moving on. So here we go. The U.S. port strike is temporarily suspended as labor management reached a wage agreement, but automations remains as a continuous issue. With a deadline in January, the potential for port automation could be a major challenge to resolve. This unresolved issue puts the U.S. ports behind the global standard, raising concerns about the future of port labor relations when it comes to automations. Adrian, let's start off with you again, my friend.
All right. Well, I got a little bit of history here. I used to work for Maersk Line Limited. So I know a lot about the kind of, well, not, I mean, I know quite a bit about the goings on of ports and how they operate. APM Terminals was here. I think it's changed to VIT now. That's we have one of the automated ports in the U.S. So when I started, it was just when that started to take off. That was around maybe like 2010 that started to take off. And it was a game changer. There was a lot of talk about how much more safe, how much safer it was, and the ability to track everything, track your goods efficiently, really from the beginning to the end of delivery. So no guessing where your container is filled with your goods. It was all tracked accordingly and logged with a really sophisticated system. And actually, a friend of mine runs that system now, which is pretty cool. He's busy all the time, and I think that it's tough. It's tough because you want to. No one likes to see jobs go. No one likes that. But at the same time, if this comes down to a competitive advantage between the U.S. and the other countries around, the ability to turn over, have that forget what the name is, but when you come into a port, do what you got to do, move the stuff on, move it off, and then go. That turnover, shortening that time period is really crucial to their business model. So I would hear stories about, man, when we used to pull in from other people that were longshoremen, no, actually workers on the ship, when they used to pull in the port here, they would have all day. They would be able to get out, go into town, hang out, and come back when everything was finished. But now the turnover, when I was there, was so fast that this wasn't really a place that you could, go out and come back, when you pull into dock. So a lot of it's changed already. But if it comes down to a competitive advantage, I don't think that really a strike will be able to stop that ship. No pun intended. But those are my thoughts.
Yeah. Sekou. Oh man, I'm so conflicted. Mostly because I feel like we've seen a lot of trends where automation is introduced into workforce. Employees revolt. There's two ways that it usually ends up. If you're not a union, you have a lot more. A union has a lot more sway than individuals trying to form a union or trying to have some type of
Amazon
bargaining, right?
Yeah.
What they do is they will shift to removing you faster. And that's my fear here is that, the fact that they had the head of the union who was he's a multi-millionaire, the head of the union, It was part of the reason why that ended up kind of like they ended up negotiating a little bit differently because they realized that the person who's negotiating for them had Bentleys and all type of things in his house. Like someone did like a what you call it? Did a Google Maps of his giant home.
Of his compound.
His compound of a house. But the reality is that it would have. I think it would have been more interesting if there was like a push to like put the actual workers closer to running the automation or retooling for it, because this is an eventual fate, right? We know how the story ends. It ends with the automation eventually getting there, but right now you're just reminding folks right now that the thing that the thing that you don't want to happen is really the right thing for them to do. That's what you're doing. You're revalidating that, and you're going to speed up the process essentially. So I do, there's a lot of work, a lot of families get impacted on those type of things, especially think of what happened to the auto industry as they started putting those robots in the factories, right?
Yep.
Like there was protests against those robots. Those robots came. Right, and people are out of jobs. There's less jobs there, and there are less folks that have the ability to there are more folks that are pushed out of the ecosystem for that.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to find a better way to do that. At least make it so that the robot parts we control the supply chain for those robot parts. We make sure that the workers have some type of connection to that process, either the maintenance or retooling for that, because there's still labor that goes into it. It's just that the labor we have is now spread across the world to all the places that make these small pieces, right? Yep. So when they talk about jobs for the future that we need to build, that is particularly the jobs that we know are going to be required even when automation, these different things come in. How do you protect folks? And you don't protect them by telling them, hey, you'll do the same exact thing for the next 20 years and you'll be just fine. That's not true.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I feel like we have there's enough history right now that we can lean on, that folks who are there who have the short victory, realize this is definitely a short victory, and find ways to protect their families from automation disrupting their lives. So
for sure.
Yeah. My concern is okay, let me be careful with my words here. My concern is the advancement of the wage increase is translation into a W. It can be potentially looked as a first down, but you're already losing the game.
Yeah.
And so I'll do a build up here.
Mm-hmm.
Just with us three, has anybody right now ever said these words? Why do they only have one lane open when you're at the store?
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah. I mean, we've all stated those words. Why do you have one lane open? And we were stating those words for X amount of time, and then he come the invention of self checkout. I would imagine too, as well, when it comes to automation and advanced technology, that the last destination that we went to, none of us hopefully used MapQuest to get there.
No.
Talk about texting and driving. What about us and our parents that had a full playbook in front of us trying to figure out if we should make a left or right?
Yeah. or when you had to You had to print out the map quests. I was around for
Right.
that. That was wild.
Right. Or you go buy a map from the gas station and draw, the direction that you got, the route you got to take.
Yeah.
You know.
Or that funky map with the index on it. You guys ever get that map that was a book and then it was I forgot what they were called, but you could get anywhere. Like, I don't know, there was a legend in the front of it, and then you would just flip to that page, and then you would be on the map of wherever you were going. I don't know what that was called, but I used that once or twice.
Yeah, remember
it wasn't the spread out crazy map that you had to unfold. It wasn't that mess.
I know what you're talking about. I used to use that when I was a field engineer. I was going place to place. I had this little book. It was right before MapQuest and those. Before MapQuest, before TomTom. Remember TomTom?
Holy.
That was OG. That's what kind of started the actual automated navigating system. TomTom. If you had TomTom, you were fancy back in those days.
You were.
Yeah, but that process, and then the largest one, and you know what percentage of people who were involved in agriculture before the Industrial Revolution?
Oh, I know it was hot. Oh man, I've heard that statistic before. If you know it, it was
90% of Americans were involved in some role of agriculture, agricultural jobs before the Industrial Revolution.
Wow,
90% of Americans. You know what their percentage is now?
10?
2%.
2%. Wow.
2%, less than 2% of Americans are involved in agriculture and stuff right now. I mean, this is just what happens, and I sympathize and I understand, how these things can be scary. B, you built a skill set where you're great at something, and now you're talking about a tool, a robot, or a software is about to come replace set skill that you've been mastering, crafting over the last decade plus or so. And I empathize with all those things. And I will say, though, like you said, this is not the first, and this is nowhere near the last time that this has happened within our society. I mean, I just gave you 3 examples, right there, and I would imagine all 3 of those we've all benefited from on the consumer side. But businesses and companies, they made a decision, to move or advance and stuff, away from these things, these stuff. So I think we was watching the video last week after the podcast. Steve Jobs and stuff was meant, when he got on, and he was talking about how when he got rid of the floppy disk, and everybody called him crazy, within the Mac. And so it's just, all these things, unfortunately, they happen. And I think this is also too why I'm passionate about, teaching any and everybody, about the now or artificial intelligence and how to use it, and how to grow with it and build with it, because it's going to happen with or without you, and I think we're at a defining moment. Oh man, we're at a defining moment right now in history. I don't know why I just got emotional. We're at a defining moment right now in history. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter the role you do. It doesn't matter how specialized your role is, how hard it is. Artificial intelligence will impact your role to some degree, whether you like it or not. It's a technology where it's that good. I mean, I can round off 16 examples right now on the top of my head of tools, companies, services that can be built that can wipe out organizations. And this is just stuff in my head. I know there's somebody else that has, the idea, the infrastructure, the funding, the resources to kind of go ahead and build it, make it out. I mean, we're talking about from every industry, from music, from chatbots and everything. We were about to talk about some of the legal side of stuff here in a second. And so, this is an area where, the time right now and the focus right now, you should be focusing on how do you build your career, your skill set with AI versus without it. I said I was I was at a conference last week, and somebody asked me about like coding and coding boot camps and everything. I said I wouldn't join any school, institution, boot camp that are not teaching you how to code with coding assistance.
Yeah.
Like pointless, everything. And so, I think this is where we are and stuff right now. And then, there's some sectors even in our country that aren't getting this information at all. They're just kind of like hearing the news, or they heard it in passing and everything, and I don't think the world understands how impactful this is about to be, and what's about to happen. And it's concerning, so from that standpoint. But I think the most important part is that it's going to happen, and it's happening. We just talk about how full podcasts can be automated. I mean, this is right now, guys. This is a part of what we do. And so like that, and we do it because we enjoy it. And so like that. EA Sports announced that they're putting together basically prompted gaming, where they're going to start allowing individuals to create their own games, which typically been behind a closed market, and stuff. And so, I mean, that is going to create different balances. And the most important part of all of this is like, to mitigate the fear, in this, the agriculture, I imagine tons of people was just like terrified doing that part or anything. But now that has created so many more jobs. It's created so many more jobs and everything. And the same thing is going to happen, with the insertion and building on top of, of the foundation that we're building right now with artificial intelligence. And so, I implore everybody and anybody to, no matter what you're doing, make it an assistant of yours.
Yeah, because it may not look like it did with the farming losing out to the Industrial Revolution, because those farms got broken off. Those farms would get brought up, and the families would have like a windfall of some money, maybe some generational wealth sometimes for that land. I don't know if that's going to look the same with this with this next revolution.
Yeah, I don't. I think the same thing. That's why I'm like, just hope that we can get folks prepared for that future. So that's the word I was trying to say before was the iceberg effect. I think there's also the iceberg effect with this too, right? We see the surface level of AI, but the robotics, we combine robotics and AI, like
computer vision.
That's I think that's when we're actually like really getting somewhere. And the things that they're doing with NVIDIA and the Omniverse, that they're doing training robotics in an actual virtual world before actually putting them into robotics to perfect them, to shorten the actual development time of that. Means that's huge. Actually, that was actually in that the video I saw with Jensen and the CEO of Accenture. We're talking about specifically that robotics and their integration of robotics into the workforce using the Omniverse to be able to train. It's gonna move fast. It's moving fast. Now the AGI discussion, I think, is something different though. Like, when are we gonna get AGI? I feel like that is like, it's like Elon Musk's Tesla Roadster. Like, it'll come around the same time the Roadster is gonna come. Like, it's made to get you excited about things and cause controversy, but not actually to, like, I don't think anyone truly wants AGI.
Also, too, I quickly realized that people can't agree what the definition of AGI is.
Yeah.
There have been so many different definitions of it.
It used to be, if you can be fooled in the fact that if it's an AI or not, then it must have some intelligence, right? Like, you think it's a human or not. Like, you can do that now. You can set up phone call, talk to someone, talk to something and think it's a human. That's an AI. Like, have we passed one of the key tests at that point? Yeah, but I don't know.
Guys, I think because I think this may be my ego talking, so whatever. Yeah, I think we should probably consider start doing demos, of some of these tools that we're always talking about.
Oh, yeah, we should.
Yeah, just to kind of flex on the world a little bit, but also just to like really education, standpoint, just like really showing how easy it is to like, build some of these solutions, everything. And so like we might build it in like a Jupyter notebook and everything, but like literally a team of 5 can build it out to a full production. For a team of 2, really, or they can build it out to like full production, tool, service, product, or something like it be. And so yeah, I think there's something we should consider.
Yeah, I think that'll be. I think folks would be interested in that. So I'm down for 2.
Okay, cool. Something that wasn't considered, the FTC. So here we go. Do Not Play has agreed to play $193,000 in a settlement with the FTC after it found to have false claims about its AI-powered robot lawyer service. This case is part of the FTC broader crackdown on AI companies misleading consumers. This settlement reinforces the legal expectations for AI companies to provide evidence for their claims, signaling that AI tools must meet strict standards of transparency and efficiency. Sekou.
Yeah, my heart goes out to all the new folks into AI who decide to test the waters to see how far they can go on behalf of all of humanity. Because these folks are. What did you think is going to happen? Like, I'm sure there's some security engineer, some legal person who did a risk analysis and said these are a couple of different ways where you can actually you can be messed up with what you're doing. And say, let's go for it anyway. I feel like something that can only be born in like Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah.
It's always the first. It's always the first one through the door who's going to take the most bullets. And so I mean,
so
they're not the first, but they're early adopter and stuff of the service.
Well, thank you for your service, is what I say to them. Thank you for taking that hit for the rest of us, for letting us know what not to do.
Here's an interesting, because also too, I should have looked up the capital raise of Do Not Pay. Like, have they raised significant capital? Because maybe 190,000 could be a bucket and stuff, for like a drop in a bucket. But also too, 193,000 could be the software engineer salary who built it.
Yeah. Well, Do Not Pay offered it wasn't just legal advice. So Do Not Pay would also get you out of parking tickets. It would like cancel subscriptions. It would take care of like a lot of other stuff that other than just like legal documents. And by the way, like I read the article from The Verge about it. They didn't even have a legal person on staff.
Oh no, that's
not a lawyer. No, like legal representative to really audit.
These are our fellow engineers.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I feel, which is the audacity. There is some solidarity there. Like, I am audacious as well. And it could have been way worse. I think that the 193,000 is probably from one piece of what they were doing, not the entire company. So they get off with a little slap on the wrist with that. But it takes audacity. It takes gumption.
So like this is really interesting, right? So usually when the FTC does things, they do things in a way that is punitive, where it will make it so the next person who tries to do it will not do it because of the size of the fine. This actually, it looks like they just wrote some checks to say, hey, you guys can do it as long as you guys can pay $200,000, which is like, a lot for individual, but not for organization, and probably on the amount of revenue that they were able to pull in from that process, right? So I don't think the number is high enough for it to be punitive. It actually may be something that encourages more companies to integrate this with little small tweaks. So
if I'm a company like YC Combinator, my now requirement of you're building some type of like AI focused solution is one of your co-founders that have a legal background. Problem solved. Moving forward.
Still only $200,000, still not a lot. Even in that situation, I don't know. I feel like it's still just encouraging folks to just YOLO it.
And watch this. Going back to what we just talked about is that legal lawyers, is a field right now that is under fire to potentially, I'm not going to say get wiped out, but now you're having tool services that's being built, every single day, where people are looking to get faster, quicker, and cheaper solutions to build out, documents, resolution tickets, or whatever it may be. I mean, this is all happening and stuff right now, and legal is one of those difficult, areas, and right now people are building solutions against it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I'm actually I am impressed though. The audacity that's connected to this, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But isn't it the norm though? Isn't it the norm where we have a big industry? It's typically somebody outside the industry that comes to innovate.
Yep. That's how it always works.
I mean, the music labels never creates the Spotify's, Apple Music stuff of the world. It's always somebody outside the space.
That's why I worry about like the port things related to the port. Like, yes, these folks might agree to not use any AI or anything like that eventually, or an AI robotics, right?
I don't see that happening. But I don't see them agreeing not to do that.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. They're just like give you a raise, like, hey, we'll just give you a raise that we will reduce later on as we remove your jobs, right?
Yeah.
So, but I was gonna say this: the innovation story, like it is usually someone outside of it who's going to be the disruptor within it. And the YC Combinator is really good at taking risk on folks that are motivated to, sink or swim. Now, I definitely feel like these do not pay. We're definitely in that category. Like we are either going to be very successful or we are going to go bust. So
yeah.
Go ahead, Adrian.
Oh, the Zenefits. I don't know if you guys remember this company. They were called Zenefits. They were around in like 2020. Not 2020. Sorry, they were around in like 2012. I know that because I moved to New York, and I think benefits were through Zenefits or something like that. But Zenefits this story of do not pay reminds me a little bit of the Zenefit story, where on the front of it looks one way. It's like that picture of what your front end looks like versus the back end, and the drawing of the horse. You've seen that?
Yeah.
So they had an HR company that was supposed to have all this technical stuff going on in the background. But really, it was a real manual process with a series of forms. But on the outside, they looked like they were really innovative and like on the forefront of it. But on the back end, it was like really just kind of thrown together and not really well planned.
Yeah, I remember there was a big, it's a big thing that happened where they were like not licensing themselves in the different states where they were providing benefits and things like that. They were doing some workaround.
Yeah, they had like an automated system to like kind of like get the license done rather than actually doing it. It was like some, click and go process that they put together to like be compliant. It was wild.
Oh man. Oh, this reminds me. Oh, it's probably not a great story, but yeah. I remember a story where there was an employer who wanted to win like the best in their field. And what they did is they had like their head of IT write some scripts that would go ahead and enter in nominations into this thing in order to make them look like the head of the field within this it was like a, I don't know, like a best physicians magazine or best physicians of, X state of New Jersey or something like that. Right. They ended up doing this thing. They got away with it for a little while until, that person that they asked to do it got upset.
Yep.
And things went a different way. So
yeah. If you're gonna do that, that person
Yeah.
better be living like that doc that the union head is living. With the Bentleys.
I mean, we going back to being in the capitalistic society where we thrive off entrepreneurship. So here, I can only imagine the phone calls right now from set manufacturers to the ports, and they're saying, if we can get you these tools, these automations in 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, or anything, what dollar amount we be open, to paying, to kind of like fully automate, this process. I know these phone calls are happening right now, and they are trying to figure out, they're trying to speed up and trying to figure out how they can build, very quickly to, I hate to use this, like alleviate and stuff, a lot of these things, because I can imagine this: if they get 50% of the work that can be automated, yeah, I mean, I can just see them saying like, okay, who wants to keep their job?
Yeah. We'll see. I think the union aspect of this does make this a little bit more challenging, but I guess we'll see. And the fact that they did not agree to the automation piece of this, this is a ticking time bomb. So
Can you the only latest, and I don't know what the final word was, the only latest area I can think of where union was able to slow down automation to a point was in Hollywood with the writing.
Oh yeah. Well, theirs is a little different because they're the product right now, right? So their faces, their voices were the subject to automation, right? They're going to take your likeness, use it whatever they want without you being paid for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like almost like we have the conversation around making our own AI agent. It's like someone taking our AI agent, using it for their purposes, and not actually contributing back to us in some way. So they had a little bit of a upper hand because they have rights to them as humans that they don't want to sign away. But for a port worker, like, you don't have the same, like, you're way more replaceable from that aspect of it because you're doing something as manual. We're removing a manual task, and this whole safety aspect of that, that there's so many angles for them not to win this. That's why I have a lot of fear for those folks. And how do we, I know it's going to happen because they're going to say, you know what? There's so many people getting hurt with these things. We need to put a robot here. right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll just continue to go. It'll continue to proliferate in different areas. Oh, just I can just see things changing based off of that. Yeah.
I can see them using the weather as an excuse.
Yeah. There's so many different ways for them to win this conversation.
You mean the companies to win the
for the companies? Yeah, so many ways for the companies to win on this front. So I don't know.
You have to believe too that like any accidents or anything that happens in the meantime is going to be further justified.
Yeah.
And you know what?
That's a great point. Yeah.
I think the other part that kind of gets me is, in the Bay Area, we have a history around our ports and how they've changed over the years and how it has changed communities. We have Vallejo, which is like people during the Great Migration, the Great Migration that a lot of Black folks made to different parts of the United States for opportunity and also to escape Jim Crow and things like that. Getting access to good, well-paying jobs in Vallejo was like a huge reason for folks to come out here to the West Coast.
Yeah.
And when those ports close, like the communities were decimated, right? There was housing that was built around these different things. There's a lot of housing that was built just to support this aspect of it. And you can imagine the decimation that would happen in places that have had ports have been open much longer.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine Baltimore. Like, what would happen to Baltimore if something like that happens, right?
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because going back to your example, what you said with the automation side, look at what happened to Detroit.
Yeah. Decimated.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even we had one Ford plant closed down here locally, and that was a big deal. It was a huge deal. So I can't imagine something like Detroit or like Vallejo when the whole, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. So guys, I hope that whoever is the new president, that they actually are not short-sighted on this, and we could help figure out what the actual how to navigate this in a different way than the last generation that this happened to. So,
man, with those examples, guys, we all work, build, learn in the area, of AI every single day. The connection to how one decision of closing down a car manufacturing, a port, and how that one decision impacted communities and cities. I've never made that connection because AI is going to do that repeatedly in a wealth of segments of business. And I've never made that connection. I've never made those two connection stuff in my head. Like I always knew it. Like I do the connection with the industrial revolution and all these different things like that. But something as recent, as a city like Detroit, how Detroit at one point was a thriving city, and literally of one decision, it flipped, and it's starting to come back now. But I think that is going to happen in so many different areas with the with the grounding of AI and stuff as it's starting to cement and stuff here. And I ain't gonna lie, that's scary. I've made the connection stuff, I've never made the connection, but now I'm making that connection stuff in my head. And I've always knew it's going to challenge and disrupt and things like that. But I also know the the difference here is individuals have an opportunity to build with it and grow with it and strengthen themselves, and maybe even start their own organizations or get promotion, things like that, versus where, a closing of an industry, a closing of a port, a closing of a, car manufacturing was just like literally, you're done, type of thing. And so I think the need for awareness, re-education, education, and simply the alarm that, let's call this a category 5 when it comes to technology moving across the nation.
Yeah.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah. I think the one benefit, or the one thing we have, is right now there's a lot of access to learning around some of this technology. There's still, like, NVIDIA, as long as NVIDIA still has its hold over where LLMs run, I think we're still in a place where corporations have a place to exploit in ways that, aren't great. That's why it's important for the cost to go down. It's important for what Apple's trying to do, is trying to get LLMs on devices, even if it's behind their paywall or something like that. It's going to at least spark enough innovation for folks to do things on their own. But yeah, I think the difference is between this and the Industrial Revolution is that you as an individual have a way you can get like a tractor. Like in those world, only certain people could afford a tractor. Now everyone can afford a tractor that can do something that helps them with a part of the world, right? So it's a little different, and I think this is the one time that with good programs that we can actually help folks to retool into the right future. It's just, a lot of folks are, they built their lives around these norms that are about to be disrupted.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, definitely. Well, guys, I don't know about y'all, but this may be my favorite episode up until now. This is definitely great, stuff here. Adrian, to start with you, Sekou, and continue with you. Adrian, we're going to come back to you and everything to close us out here, man. We're going to use advanced voice, everything, to close us out here. Give me a scenario, an individual, something, personality, tone, whatever it may be. We're going to use advanced voice and everything to close us out here in the episode.
All right. Okay. We do Morgan Freeman.
We'll see if it lets because as of late I've noticed that if you say somebody's name, it immediately say I can't do that and for copyright issues. But let's see.
Okay. Okay. Let's not do Morgan Freeman. Let's do weathered old the British actor to close out the podcast on topics of automation and FTC regulations and new developments in open AI.
Okay, here we go. So you said what was the word before British? You said something before British.
Oh, like weathered, like old okay. British guy. Yeah.
Hey, can you close us out on the podcast here? I want you to talk from a old British guy standpoint. The podcast name is AI with Friends. The host is Sekou, Marlon, and Adrian. And we talked about Microsoft bold move into nuclear energy, Google's NotebookLM turning content into podcast-like conversation, the port automation debate amid the U.S. strike settlement, OpenAI's restructuring plans, and the AI robot lawyer facing legal consequences. Can you close us out here on the podcast using your old man British accent?
Ladies and gentlemen, as we draw this riveting episode of AI with Friends to a close, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed hosts, Sekou, Marlon, and Adrian. Today, we traversed a landscape of technological marvels, from Microsoft's bold venture into nuclear energy to the transformation of Google's NotebookLM into a veritable cornucopia of conversational content. We delved into the intricacies of port automation amidst labor strikes, explored OpenAI's restructuring plans, and even pondered the curious case of the AI robot lawyer in legal hot water. As we bid you farewell, we hope this journey through the ever-evolving world of artificial intelligence has both enlightened and inspired you. Until next time. Yeah.
Oh,
Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah.
I'm going to watch Harry Potter after this.
I know. I'm going to eat some beans on toast.
Oh man! All right, guys. Hey guys, if you want to follow us here, man, my name is Marlon Avery. You can follow me at I am Marlon Avery on all platforms. Sekou, man, let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitch. You can follow me on TikTok at Sekou, the Wise One, and it's the number 1.
Adrian.
All right, you can follow me on at Infamous Adrian on Twitter and at Green Lantern on TikTok.
Ooh, speaking of, did y'all see that they casted new Green Lantern today?
What? No, I didn't hear about that.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So Adrian,
Okay.
look at it. Look, this is bonus and everything. Look it up real quick. I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this because I thought it was a well pick.
Oh, this dude, he's gonna kill that, man. This dude is he's a new actor. Yeah. He's cool, man.
Yeah.
Good
Sekou,
pick.
what's your thoughts?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He was on the new Netflix show. The new
What's it
Netflix.
called?
I forgot the name of this thing, but yeah. Oh man, yeah, this is gonna be good. He's gonna be Jon Stewart too. Oh, it's my favorite Green Lantern. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the people listening, they casted Aaron Pierre as a new Green Lantern. And so he's the individual who played on that. What's the Netflix show? The one it was really popular.
It has a I want to say it's like that. There we go. Rebel Ridge.
Rebel Ridge. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's been kind of going viral and stuff here, but they casted him as the new Green Lantern, which I thought it was a well pick, and so I think he'll do well. We'll see what happens. Typically, I go into all DC movies with no expectations, so I can enjoy the movie.
Yes.
And stuff. And
That's the move. That's the move.
So we will see what happens stuff here. All right, cool. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, we're out.
See you guys.
See ya.